Title, Mr. Speaker, of the presentation, I see has given a lot of trouble on the opposition benches. And I want to make it clear from up front, Mr. Speaker, I speak in this House as a nominated member, and I am the General Secretary of the Unity Labour Party. It is not irrelevant, because the Honourable Member for Central Kingstown thought that the Honourable Senator, Mr. Speaker, who happens then to have been you speaking, should not be mentioned the name of the Unity Labour Party in this House. It is banned. You can't speak about the Unity Labour Party. But it's obvious that the Honourable Senator Frederick didn't think much of that statement. Because it's like he had an open wound and she rubbed salt and pepper in it, because she repeated the Unity Labour Party name on at least 10 occasions in her presentation of 48 minutes. 12 times? Okay, so the Honourable Minister of Tourism was counting as well. And despite the fact that I reminded her that the second Vice President of the New Democratic Party, of which she's not even PRO, was here, and she has to be careful not to be brought before the disciplinary committee of the New Democratic Party. Well, I hear the Honourable Member for Central Kingstown oftentimes say he's second Vice President.
Mr. Speaker, I am not being drawn out by the provocations, but the House is a serious place for business, Mr. Speaker. I'm in this honourable House as the representative for Central Kingstown. I'm not here as Vice President of a political party. I'm here as the honourable member representing Central Kingstown. And I would like to be referred to or referenced to in that regard. I have never described myself as being a second, fourth, or last, or any number of vice presidents of the New Democratic Party. In fact, the party has 2 vice presidents, and there's no number between them. That's correct. So there's absolutely no need for me to identify 4th, 2nd, 3rd, or last. We are both vice presidents of equal standing in the New Democratic Party. But I'm fundamentally here as an elected member representing the people of Central Kingstown, not as a vice president. And when I speak here in this parliament, I speak for and on behalf of all of the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, with no partisan position to that of the New Democratic Party. We must lift our game, Mr. Speaker. And that's the argument I was trying to make, that while I understand in practical terms we are here because we are members of political parties, when we come to address this House of Assembly, we put and see St. Vincent and the Grenadines first. Or if we do not do that, Mr. Speaker, then it will be fair game to say that the budget is for only half of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, that which is represented by the ULP. And I have to believe that they go beyond that and that they speak for the nation state of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. I really want to put that before you, Mr. Speaker, and let's lift our game in the debate. Provocation and crosstalk I can take, but let's lift our game, Mr. Speaker.
Speaker, on every occasion that I refer to the Honourable Member for Central Kingstown, except in crosstalk, I may say Sinclair, in crosstalk, but on every occasion when I refer to the Honourable Member, I refer to him as the elected member for Central Kingstown. I do not belittle his position in this parliament, but I heckle him in the crosstalk politically, because it is the norm of this parliament. That is established in this parliament. So, who wish to be thin-skinned about it can go ahead and be thin-skinned about it. Mr. Speaker, the theme on this budget debate, on this budget address, continuing the quest for wealth and job creation, equity, resilience, and fiscal consolidation in a small multi-island economy in the midst of exogenous challenges. Mr. Speaker, the average man listening to this will hear the 4 or 5 of the words and get lost completely. A quest basically is a search for. So we are searching, continuing the search to create these things. And the word exogenous is the word, it's caused from factors outside. So that we are searching and we are continuing the fight to develop programs for the continued well-being of the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, despite all the things that are happening in the world that's setting us back. Not just us alone. Third world countries, developing countries, small countries throughout the world. There are very few countries that are not facing some of the problems that we're having. And we have been creative ever since we took government of this country, the Unity Labour Party administration. Mr. Speaker, the approach to this type of budget and what we have been presenting for a while is not written in an economics textbook, you know. It's not written there. There are basic economic theories that one has to follow in developing policies and programs. But in the main, you have to be creative, you have to do a lot of research, you have to be experienced, you have to know and read and understand international politics, programs that have been tried and tested and failed and succeeded. And based on those, being a practical and compassionate government, we come up with a program like what we have today. I believe this is the third time that we are having our debate on the budget in the month of January. And there are reasons for it. And we all agreed, as members of this House, to have the debate in January. Mr. Speaker, it is my intention to speak to a lot of the projects and programs that are involved and included in this program within the ministry and the effect of their implementation on the economy of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And we must always remember that what we have before us is not the only instrument that helps to create jobs and further development in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. There are other agencies of the government, like VINLEC, like CWSA, IADC. While some of IADC is in here, there are other programs. The National Lotteries Authority, they spend significant sums in this country and pump a lot of money into the economy. And they help us to create some of the jobs and some of the development programs that we have. And it all comes from a central theme prepared by the Unity Labour Party administration. The boards of directors of these organizations are put in place by the Unity Labour Party administration. And we have policies and programs that they are expected to follow. It's no different from when the NDP was in government. No different than when the NDP was in government. When the NDP administration, they had their boards and their directives to their chairman and their board members and their boards of directors. And they also at that time pumped. But compare what they have done for the period that they were in office and compare what we have done in a shorter period and tell me which one has done better. And I am convinced that by far the Unity Labour Party administration has performed many times better than the NDP administration of 17 years. Mr. Speaker, naturally in the debate, there will be other matters that I will refer to. And in any proper debate, you respond to statements made by members of the opposition. That's what a true debate is all about. Be factual, present your case. But one of the things that makes me smile in this House of Parliament, Mr. Speaker, is the way that the New Democratic Party members in opposition, they come here with the usual stories that they sell on their radio program on a daily basis at night time. That's how they approach it. That's how they approach this parliament. They try to present their case and their stories and their theories in an unprepared manner. In a manner where in the echo chamber, everybody say, yes, master, that is true. But presented with this barrage in this parliament, they don't get away with it. They don't get away with it, Mr. Speaker. And some will go on radio and make statements, Mr. Speaker. And when you ask them and say that they said so in this House of Parliament, they say they never said so. Their memory is limited to the program that they have. It is suited for that hour of night or day to parley. And after that, honestly, I believe some of them don't remember. Honestly. In other words, the first time you hear the words you speak, or the first time you understand the words you speak, is when you speak them. There's no thought that goes into it sometimes to say, well, listen, we're not really in the echo chamber. An echo chamber is when you sit down in a hollow hall and you say, ULP, it comes back to you, ULP. You say NDP, it comes back to you. Or you go in the mountains where it's quiet and you whistle, the whistle comes back to you. That is the echo chamber that the NDP has. That's how they run their party, and they feel that when they come to the House of Parliament, Mr. Speaker, according to the Honourable Member for Central Kingston, he said, we are undervaluing or devaluing the importance of this House of Parliament. And he said so in the context of a matter that I asked the Speaker's permission to play a tape, and the Honourable Senator Vinnet Frederick wanted to make and carry the argument a little bit further, and the Speaker thought that he had had enough and ruled against it. The next morning, the Honourable Member for Central Kingston comes back and tries to chide the Speaker and say that he was devaluing, undervaluing or devaluing the importance of this House and the importance of members to speak in this House. Mr. Speaker, I heard the Honourable Member, the Honourable Senator Jomo Thomas. Mr. Speaker, unfortunately you're in the Speaker's chair now. Speaking to the matter of the way the leader of the opposition approached the matter of the Petrocaribe agreement. And he stated clearly that he has never read the Petrocaribe agreement. And then the leader of the opposition gets up with something completely different. Yes, associated, but not referring to the specific statement made by Senator Thomas. But it is one thing that you will never live down, is the fact that all 9 of you, from the leader of the opposition down to Honourable Senator Lewis, because I have to put it in order. We sit in order here. Jomo is the last. Prime Minister, the leader of the House, is first. I'm a little bit senior in ministry than Camilo. Both of us are senators, so I have to sit above him. So I take it that Senator Lewis sitting at the end is of the lowest order. Least among the apostles. So I can say, therefore, that from the leader of the opposition down to Honourable Senator Lewis, said in this parliament that they never saw the agreement before. Never said they never saw it. There was a big hurrah. Why are we keeping this document a secret? Mr. Speaker, every single student in this country who has a laptop, whether ASA or not, has access to the Petrocaribe agreement. And those laptops, I believe, we give them out at age 5. So every student in this country from age 5 has access to the Petrocaribe agreement. But 9 members who want to replace the Unity Labour Party as government in this country have spoken on the Petrocaribe agreement for 9 years. And none of them have ever seen a copy. I don't think they're telling the truth, Mr. Speaker. I will not say that they're lying because it's unparliamentary. Maybe we have to give each of them an ASA. But you want to tell me that the leader of the opposition gets up, Mr. Speaker, and he says, the agreement said. He said, Mr. Speaker, he was talking, some of the things that he said he was talking when Senator Thomas confronted him on it and not reading it. And then he said, Mr. Speaker, what was not thought of sufficiently is that what happens if the price of oil fell? Because the agreement said that if the price of oil is below $50 US, you cannot get a loan. The agreement said. But yet, he comes back and says, in the whole hoorah, that he has never seen the document. So for 9 years, the leader of the opposition has been not telling the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines the truth as to his understanding of the Petrocaribe agreement. In fact, I will go as far as saying the leader of the opposition does not understand and does not know what is contained in the Petrocaribe agreement because he has never read it from cover to cover. Mr. Speaker, the Petrocaribe agreement is here. This Petrocaribe agreement is not an agreement between the government of Venezuela, PDVSA, and St. Vincent and the Grenadines, you know. You hear them speak in this house and you hear them speak on radio. This is an agreement signed by Wilmot Daniel, Deputy Prime Minister of Antigua and Barbuda. Leslie Miller, Minister of Trade and the Industry of the Bahamas. Villo Martin, Minister of Health, Energy and Communications of Belize. Fidel Castro Ruz, President of the State Council and the Government of the Republic of Cuba. Roosevelt Skerrit, Prime Minister of the Commonwealth of Dominica. Leonel Fernandez, President of the Dominican Republic. Keith Mitchell, Prime Minister of Grenada. Samuel Hines, Prime Minister of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana. Percival Patterson, Prime Minister of Jamaica. Ralphie Gonzalez, Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Petrus Compton, Minister of Foreign Affairs, International Trade and Civil Aviation of St. Lucia. Earl Asim Martin, Minister of Public Affairs and Energy of St. Kitts and Nevis. Jules Ratankumar Ajuda, Vice President of the Republic of Suriname. And Hugo Chavez, President of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela. This is what this agreement is, you know. This is no secret document between Ralph Gonzalez and Hugo Chavez, God bless his soul. And I will say, thank God for Hugo Chavez. Thank God for Hugo Chavez. Any 5-year-old, Mr. Speaker, can go on his laptop and everybody just tell you about Google. Everybody know where Google is. Just Google. Go Google and type in Petrocaribe. How will it go again? I write it down, man. I have it. It's all right. I'll write it down and give you. You just go there and type it in. I didn't have to go and type it in because I see the agreement already. I read it. I'm a minister of government. I have to read it to talk about it.
Google it.
Yes. Petrocaribe Energy Corporation Agreement, PEDAVISA. You go to PEDAVISA page and you find it there. Big and bold. Identical to the copy I hold in my hand. The only thing you don't have the signatures on it. And you want to tell me?
It says signed by, because it's a text. It says signed by, electronic version.
Man, they're going to burn you.
It says signed by.
They're going to burn you.
Oh boy. All right, attorney.
I think you need Senator Frederick Hay. I think you need Senator Frederick Hay to explain it to you. How they just put things online. You could scan it and put it on with the signatures. If it says signed by, you want to tell me that you want to represent this country? And since the 29th day of June 2005, you want to tell me that you have never been through this? And your leader will get up, who want to be the next prime minister, and who has to understand these things, and tell you that below $50, you will not get a loan? And repeated it, and told this parliament he wouldn't believe it until he see it. Mr. Speaker, is really amusing, because it's really amusing to hear that. As after Honorable Senator Luke Brown read out the details. I will believe the agreement when I see it, you know. Mr. Speaker, getting 50% loan and 60% loan, that is something. But that does not convince me. I want to see that agreement. Google now. I know it is not being made a document of the House. No. Anyhow, Mr. Speaker, the situation. When you talk about 5% loan, you ain't talking any money. And he repeated that about 10 times. Nothing more. He was so stunned. He couldn't believe what is in the document. You have your smartphone. If you hear Senator Luke Brown, get up and do it. If you can't do it, call Vin at one side and say, hey, Google that, let me see if there's anything there. Use the expertise of Senator Frederick. I mean, I understand that it's difficult for you sometimes to. I have the problem sometimes too, you know. I call my younger son if I got a problem. You know, I say, check this on the line for me. I call Camila, I say, Camila, boy, you know this thing better than me, check it for me. But to come out so in such a bombastic manner. And this is not the first time that the Honorable Leader of the Opposition has mentioned this. He has said so on radio repeatedly. So he goes into the echo chamber, he goes on nice radio, he speaks it, nobody there to rebuke him, to challenge him. Comes to the House with it and was challenged by the youngest sharpshooter we have on this side. One knockout blow, couldn't recover. I come in for you just now, you know. I ready for you yet. Sharpshooter. I call him the young buck in the last presentation. Mr. Speaker. Oh, it's okay. It's okay. When you're getting old like me, you could say these things about the younger fellas and be genuine about it. Mr. Speaker. So the opposition presents this case on this matter. I am stating categorically, on this matter, and on this matter alone, the New Democratic Party is not qualified to represent the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Well, if you want to see it, it's up to you, you know. I have it here. You could stay right there and don't see it. But when I done talk this evening, every 5-year-old up to 21-year-old who owns a laptop compliments the Unity Labour Party administration and Hugo Chavez. And Hugo Chavez can go on that laptop and read the argument, the thing and say, Mr. Eustace know what he's saying. I'm saying what they're saying. I'm not referring to you as Mr. Eustace. The honorable leader of the opposition, who wants to become Prime Minister of this country, does not know what he's saying about the Petrocaribe. And he has been fooling us as young people in this country. Mr. Speaker, $100 per barrel, 50%. That's where you're borrowing. $50 a barrel, 40%. That's the money you get. $40 a barrel, 30%. $30 a barrel, 25%. $24 per barrel, 20%. $22 per barrel, 15%. $20 a barrel, 10%. And up to $15 per barrel, because they have you have this arrow that say up to, more than or less than. It's like some people use it sometimes to do a kiss. You do a tree and you use that and you get a kiss out of it with the new language that they do, the Texan language. You get 5% still. So it doesn't stop at $15. It is up to 15, as high as $15. You get 5% on it. So regardless of the price of oil, this Unity Labour Party administration will continue to get some benefit out of it. Mr. Speaker, you would recall, you may not, Mr. Speaker, personally, because you were not in the Parliament, but there's a public statement made by the Honourable Leader of the Opposition. When this agreement was signed, shortly after he said he will unsign it. He said he will unsign it. He comes in his opening shot, talking to the Leader of the House in his response to the budget. He said, this is the last time I will be replying to the budget. Next time, I will deliver it. Imagine that. But yet he doesn't know about the Petrocaribe agreement. Let me just remind the Leader of the Opposition that the life of this Unity Labour Party, the 5 years ends on the 13th of December. But constitutionally, we have until 2016, March 2016. There's another budgetary process that could take place. So do not be too preemptive on these matters. So that, hello? I know. Could you afford the wait? Could you afford the wait? Mr. Speaker, the Leader of the Opposition all of a sudden is interested in transfers to the Tourism Authority and to Braxton. For years in this Parliament, the budget has been under attack by the Leader of the Opposition and members of the New Democratic Party on us, the transfers. They question it on numerous occasions. We throw away money. Can I ask you? False? I know. I told you so when you said you ain't getting no money under $50. I was the first one to shout and tell you, you're wrong. One question, me, I'm going to bring the transcript like I have here, I go transcribe it and bring it. I have another transcript to read, I have another one to read. But I'm going to get there just now. But in this debate, he has reversed it. He said, Braxton Tourism Authority, if they don't get the transfer money, there'll be no growth. So it's important to have these monies allocated to these organizations. But as he said, he's going to deliver, so you want to start to prepare yourself. Because he knows that he has to present those same sort of figures if he ever gets there. Mr. Speaker, how much time has elapsed from me, Mr. Speaker? I don't want to be surprised like the opposition members that I only have 5 left.
31 minutes.
Huh?
31 minutes has gone.
31 has gone. Okay. Right, cool. Mr. Speaker, the NIS is a punching bag for the Leader of the Opposition. There is never ever a time when he presents in this Parliament and doesn't touch and chide and abuse, well, not abuse, I can't use the word abuse, but disagrees vehemently with whatever action we take with the NIS. Mr. Speaker, he speaks of returns on the NIS investment and so on. I want to ask him the question. While he was Minister of Finance, and I believe at one time Chairman of NIS, would he tell us the results of the investment in Anguilla and Martinique? When the NIS invested in doing projects in Anguilla and invested, I believe, in a hotel in Martinique, has the NIS ever got any returns on that? I believe you can Google it. I believe if you go to the NIS webpage, it may tell you how much they had invested, but I don't think you'll hear much on it. But Senator Frederick is not here to check it out, so I don't think anybody else inside here has the expertise so to do. Mr. Speaker, the party that is preparing itself for government they want to be the next government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And they're always, the majority of them over there, are negative. Everything they speak is negative. But the Leader of the Opposition has come up and they have spoken about it. But he articulated the details of it for the first time. A ministry of private sector. For private sector. The NDP government is going to put a ministry of private sector in place. And therefore, all those persons who work in Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Trade, Invest SVG and so on, will be transferred to that ministry. Well, you're going to set up a full-fledged ministry for private sector. And you hear the NDP speak all the time of the local private sector is under threat from the Unity Labour Party administration. Attack. I even love the word. I prefer that word.
Gone past threat.
Yeah. Threat is not doing it. Attack is doing it. So all those persons who work in Ministry of Finance and have to deal with the private sector, like customs and so on and whatnot, helping them and so on, Ministry of Trade, Invest SVG, watch yourself. You may very well find that a new ministry is established and you have to get transferred out of the prestigious offices of the Ministry of Finance into this Ministry of Local Private Sector. Mr. Speaker, I have absolutely no problem with services being put together and a little bit more emphasis played. In fact, this is what the Leader of the Opposition said. He said assisting the private sector, his proposal is to do something a little bit different. He's going to do something a little bit different by establishing a whole ministry to do something a little bit different. I mean, give me a break. You know, Mr. Speaker, I quote him. I underline the word little. A little bit different. And he appealed to the Garifuna diaspora. Of course, a little bit different will create a revolution. Mr. Speaker, he even in that presentation attacked the education revolution. When he finished articulating the policy on private sector, this Ministry of Private Sector, he said, when you're done, you can call that a revolution. Here the proposal. That people who come from overseas to invest. And the NDP will take the YES program workers at the same stipend, I have it here underlined, at the current stipend, $475 a month, and put them with overseas investors to work. So that other persons in St. Vincent who are looking for work you will be filling it up with yes programmers. So you send those that stipend. If those who are looking for work can't get work, you put them in the yes program. So it's two sets of people getting yes program stipend. Does it make sense? I tried to follow it, and I said, but I don't understand that this matter has been prattled about so much, and all of a sudden, the NDP saying that he will present the budget in the next time, thinks it's time to present his policy.
Point of order. Point of order.
Point of order, Mr. Speaker. The Honourable Minister is misrepresenting what I proposed. I was speaking within the context of trying to attract more private sector investment into the economy of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And I was indicating that we have incentives that are normally given to attract private investment. But a lot of our countries in our region have the same sorts of investment. So I was looking at an avenue where we can provide some additional incentive because of the need to compete in attracting those businesses. So I was suggesting, Mr. Speaker, one way to look at that. We already have a ES program. People are there to learn something about whatever area they're working on. And as an additional incentive over and above the normal tax concessions, we provide some of those workers to an enterprise that's coming in, whether it be Gary Food or whoever owns it. So if, for instance, the wage was $600 a month for the 6-month period or so, they will get some yes program workers, but at the end of that period, they will take them over at the higher salary. And therefore, we continue that process in terms of an additional incentive to attract business. This is completely different from what you were saying. Because the idea is to attract these investors here to create more employment. And if it's an additional tool, and it's done already in Ireland, for instance, where government provides that kind of service. All I'm saying, since we already have the YES program, people get about $400 a month. If an investor comes and he's paying $800 a month salary, we give that additional incentive for 6 months or a year, as the case may be. Because we are trying to attract those kinds of businesses into St. Vincent and Grenadines. We have the legislation for ICT and so on. We can't attract any. So we need to do something more.
Well, Mr. Speaker, it took longer this time to explain it than he said it the first time. But it still doesn't make sense to me, Mr. Speaker. Still doesn't make sense to me. So I can give you the next half an hour that I have, and it still ain't going to make sense to me. Because you are saying that you can transfer them over there and they get their stipend, and you're blocking 400 down there, 200 down there, 100 down there. What are you going to do with those? What is going to happen to the other businesses? Hold on a minute. What is going to happen to the other businesses that are in the local private sector who are in competition with these new investors who are coming in? What are you going to do with them? Say to them, well, you have been established here.
This is not only for foreign investors. It's not a program simply foreign investors, for investors.
Mr. Speaker, he's adding as he goes along. As I pull it to pieces, his brain is going a little bit faster. So he's hoping, Mr. Speaker, he said, we're going to do, he said, we have a Garifuna diaspora. And we need to engage them in the economy. That is the context within which the Honorable Leader of the Opposition was speaking. So we have, let's take bakeries. We have bakeries established here. And the Garifuna bakery comes in. The established bakery does not get any 50% in wages from yes workers. But those who are coming in get 50% off of their salary paid from the Treasury of St. Vincent. Isn't that unfair competition? Isn't it unfair? So you are dictating that only ICT investment you want then? Only ICT. Well, Ben Exeter really got all your brainwash. Ben Exeter really come down here with his full-fledged Canadian accent and brainwash all of you over there on ICT. I want you to do your research. Do your research. Go on Google too. On ICT and his connection with ICT in Canada. Go and do that research. You will never mention that again. Never mention that again. Mr. Speaker, this budget, Mr. Speaker, there was something that one member mentioned about building and loan. Honorable member for Northern Grenadines. He said he placed the collapse of Baiko Clico and building and loan at the feet of the Unity Labour Party administration. The honorable member for Northern Grenadines.
You said that?
He said so. I said to him, that is a private sector matter. It has nothing to do with the government. Mr. Speaker, thank God for the Unity Labour Party administration. It is the Unity Labour Party administration that established an institution to help to save building and loan. Poor FSA gets so much licks in this country in the early days of NLA, of National of Building and Loan. But with the wisdom, collective wisdom of the Unity Labour Party administration, we put these and brought legislation to this honorable house for the establishment of such a regulatory body. Had it not been for the Unity Labour Party administration, all the depositors at Building and Loan would have lost their money. You really want me to answer you?
You don't want that question answered. You don't want that question answered. You don't want that
Ask the man who was transferred to Antigua. Ask the man who was transferred to Antigua in 2010. Ask that man. You're asking me what happened. Go and ask the man who was transferred to Antigua by an international bank in this country. I think it's 2010 or 2005. That's the answer I have for you. Go and ask him, you know what I'm talking about. Mr. Speaker, not only that, Ralph Gonsalves, the Honorable Prime Minister of this country, more than anybody else in this region, did the work on Baiko Clico so that people can get back their money over the region. Not just here. When he is looking for compensation for people and refunds to people, he's not only thinking St. Vincent and the Grenadines. He's a man whose heart and head and thoughts are beyond the boundaries and horizons of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. The only man, I believe, could challenge Barack Obama is Ralph Gonsalves in the United States. That's the level I think of Ralph Gonsalves. The hard work and dedication and commitment that Ralph Gonsalves as Prime Minister of this country has put into Baiko Clico, without that, every single depositor would have lost 90% and more of their monies.
Mr. Speaker, I just want to seek a clarification. I was quite clear in my presentation. I gave full credit to the Prime Minister for the work done on Baiko Clico. So I don't understand what you're talking about.
Talking about the member for the Northern Grenadines.
Mr. Speaker, I did not say the leader of the opposition. No. I said the honorable member for Northern Grenadines. He said so. So you can't defend him unless he's so speechless now he can't defend himself.
I don't. Maybe I have to repeat myself twice. Honorable member.
Yes, please.
Yes. And it's Standing Order 35, I think the second part.
That's okay. Go ahead and give way.
I wasn't doing it for your benefit. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, I corrected the honourable member yesterday. I think what I said is that under the watch of this Prime Minister, that you had in this country and the economic collapse of BICO and BICO and CLICO and building a loan. That's an empirical fact. I'm not attributing blame one way or the other. So, if you want to attack me on what I say. You know, don't put up a straw man and then some good knocking it down.
35 B's number.
I'm not attacking you. I am just responding to the statement you made. Because I got up yesterday and challenged you on it, and you gave me this response. Mr. Speaker, one other thing just for the rough and tumble of it. I wouldn't bother with the honourable member for South Leeward because I'm running out of time. Just to say that playing fields in South Leeward is a word he should never mention. When I went to live in South Leeward in 1982, between Penistone and Vermont, we had 2 playing fields. I played cricket on both of them. The New Democratic Party represented them, Jerry Scott, turned both those playing fields into housing development. I know why. Nah, answer you why. I ain't here to answer you why. 2 playing fields, and then, as soon as government changed, pressure put on the Unity Labour Party to get a playing field. 2. One was in number 8, Penistone, and one was Dubois, boundary with Claude Samuel, who was then the manager of the National Commercial Bank, and I was the assistant manager. I played cricket there, on both of them. This Unity Labour Party administration got into trouble with Silky De Silva and Sylvester. They got annoyed with us because we acquired lands to build a playing field. You have acquired land to build a playing field? Your NDP administration have acquired land to build it? Mr. Speaker, you see they can come and go on radio and speak every day. But when you come in the parliament and face to face with the Unity Labour Party across the road, you get these things dealt with. I heard the honourable member for Southern Grenadines talking about water shortage and for fixed water situation in the Grenadines. Mr. Speaker, of all accusations, Mr. Speaker, come on. You can't come stronger than that. Sir James represented the Northern Grenadines for 30-something years. For the whole Grenadines at one time. When we took office, Mr. Speaker, there were still latrines at the school in Port Elizabeth, the home of the NDP. Nobody during the entire period of the NDP administration considered a water program for the Grenadines. Now I'm hearing the government of the Unity Labour Party being blamed for it. And we get them. We fix the school and put in flush toilet. Mr. Speaker, not only that,
Dance on that pin.
the present parliamentary representative for the Northern Grenadines should hang his head in shame. Especially, he should have juked Terence and say, boy, don't touch that subject. Those of you who got Belmar Facebook, go on and you will see. Belmar, who the people have not elected, has gone out and got a financing for a program integrally involving it. There is now a water supply in Beckway. Reverse osmosis desalination plant. You know.
Clap for that.
And the honourable member, the representative for Northern Grenadines, who inherited it from Sir James, allows Terence, the honourable member for Southern Grenadines, to come and raise that in this House of Parliament when Julian Francis is sitting down here? No. Mr. Speaker, the people of Bequia, they are now getting an extension or extension lines. Just now you'll have pipe-borne water to the homes in Bequia because they are going to expand the desal plant. So it's not just the south side
Clap for that. Clap for
that have it. You can go there and get water anytime. Drinking water too.
That's a good thing. That's a good thing. That's a good thing.
Read the story for Belma. It's on Horman Belma is his name. Maybe he will never get elected in Northern Grenadines.
Good news.
But he's the best representative that they will get. Mr. Speaker, I hear members here speaking about standard of living. I just want to read one area. This whole part will take up my whole time, but Mr. Speaker, it's important. I will deal with the projects and things in my ministry just now, but this is important too. And I have something else to deal with the Honourable Member for West Kingston. Standard of living. He said that they know this Unity Labour Party administration, he was talking about equity and so on and whatnot in the theme. But I want to read this for you. And those of you who got it, I know you all see an attachment to it, but it's important reading it.
Yeah. That's
The annex. And I want to congratulate the Ministry of Finance and the Minister of Finance.
good on it.
There's an annex in this budget address from page 85 right along to 100 and something. Many pages. Sorry. It ends at page 85 and it runs about 40 something pages. Housing dynamics. We talk about standard of living and what people are accustomed to. Apart from when the Unity Labour Party took administration in this country, Mr. Speaker, in 2001, there were about 8,000 registered vehicles. 8,000. Today we got over 25,000. 25,000. The analysis of households, this is from the census. It's from the census. The analysis of housing, of households and housing characteristics reveals that the overall standard of living has increased between 2001 and 2012. There was an increase in the percentage of households that own the dwelling they occupied. This indicator rose from 75.6% of households in 2001 to 78.7% of households in 2012. Similarly, the percentage of households that lived in concrete houses or concrete and blocks houses increased from 71.5% in 2001 to 78% in 2012. Also, data reveal that the use of public electricity as a main source of lighting increased from 79% in 2001 to 88% in 2012. The analysis also examined the types of fuel used for cooking gas, namely liquefied petroleum gas. But in St. Vincent, you know us already, LPG is Labour Party gas. Was the most commonly used source of fuel, thanks to Hugo Chavez. Together with electricity, these represented the most modern form of cooking. During 2012, the percentage of households using these forms of cooking stood at 94.5%, up from 91.2% in 2001. And you want to tell me the standard of living of our people has not gone up? I am not. The same consultants who did all their research and thing in the past, same consultants. Well, this is the census, sorry. But the studies that they have done before with FAO and so on, when you read that, it's in here. It's in the attachments. Those of you get it. Very important reading. But here this one, Mr. Speaker. I come in. Oh, you hurry so. I come in. I know you come back. There was also a notable increase in the percentage of households using flush toilet. I just talk about the Beckwith Secondary School, you know. In 2012, 68.5% of households use flush toilet. 68.5%. Compared with 52% of households in 2021. So it jumped from 52% to 68% in 12 years. As was the case in 2001, well, that part is about male heading the houses. But this is what you call creature comforts. This is what you call how people live. Toilet, house, cook, electricity, transport. Mr. Speaker, what more do you want? What more do you want from a government, Mr. Speaker? With this sort of performance, the Unity Labour Party will be elected again and again and again. Sorry to use the motto of the old NDP, but Sir James will not kill me and mine on it. So that's it. I have more I can deal with, Mr. Speaker, but that's enough. I need to move on to one other thing. But during the estimates, Mr. Speaker, and I raised, Mr. Speaker, the possibility of my coming to this Parliament to settle a difference between the Honourable Member for West Kingston and myself on a statement he made on Nice Radio on the 9th of September 2014 with regards to the South Leeward Highway. And I said that he said to put the project on hold. And he said, no, never said so. And I said to him, I will withdraw because it was going on into a long argument, Mr. Speaker. But based on the arguments they had day before yesterday, I realized that I can't play the tape. But that won't stop me. The 9 ways to kill a cat. So I did a transcript of it. I don't mind wasting 4 minutes, Mr. Speaker, but I'm going to read it. And I did the Gentleman Act and emailed to cummins.waterman@gmail a copy of what he said on Nice Radio. So he has in his possession what he said on Nice Radio. He said, my brothers and sisters, I don't want to talk about the roads. I don't want to talk about the roads. I don't want to get a headache. Good heavens. You know, I have to drive on that, hey, South Leeward Highway, free to call it, from Botanical Gardens down to Camden Park very regularly. And oh Lord, God knows, it's part of my ailment. Because every part of the vehicle is shaking off. And if the vehicle can't take it, you know the human body worse. What a government. A project that should have been near completion now should be near completion. And I always tell you, I can't wait. Because I know once they start digging up that road, the chaos, the headache, and the traffic, and the nightmares with the heavy equipment and the long trailers and trucks and so forth, and just people wanting to move to and from. Lord help us. When all we required to do was to cut the alternative route from Camden Park to Kingston via Otley Hall and Edinburgh. But no. No! That is going to please Daniel Cummins. Daniel Cummins mustn't look good. So all the people must suffer. Because ULP ain't taking no advice from Daniel Cummins. You don't need my advice. Anybody with a pea brain would understand that it's common sense. With such an important main road so narrow and winding with a total repair, you must have alternative routes. You must. You do, because the kind of vehicles that will run on those roads, you can't use a single lane in most parts. They are too long. It will be impractical. You can't tell the people who have operations in the industrial estate in Camden Park that you can't function today. Because for this week or this month, because we have to close the road. I know where you're getting that from. And then the minister tells me about using the alternative port. The problem is not going to be solved. A lot of material is moved from Camden Park to Kingston and vice versa. So you must need the road. You must keep the road open. No, you must keep the road open if the industrial estate is to function. You talk about building straw men. That's not a part of his quote. I am just adding that because I heard the honorable member here talking about building straw men. Well, I love it because it matches well with this. Keep the road open. If the industrial estate, I don't know where you get the story from, we're going to close the road, is to function. But remember, you want to kill down to the fledgling little industries that going on down there. They don't care about people. This is where it goes now. Reassess the project. Include the alternative route in the project. And you could imagine him. I am saying it in a forceful way, but you know how the honorable member speaks. And do that as a priority. Maintain the road up to a level now until you can replace it. And build the alternative route first. Mr. Minister, no wonder you're gone under somebody's wing. The irony is, the one who got you under his wing, he understands what a wing is yet. He said, how could you be doing a project like that without an alternative? I mean, the international community must be watching us and laughing. The professionals in institutions like CDB and so on must be saying, Lord, these people don't know what engineering is. They don't know what planning is. They don't know anything about anything. They need somebody to tell them that this is not a practical solution. That they're going to have chaos in this country. Because you don't need an engineer to tell you that. That's not what you needed it to tell you, but now you don't need it. A simple project manager looking at it will tell you, no sir, that is not practical. You cannot build this road in this manner. You are proposing. You are going to create nightmares. You are going to hit the economy where it matters. The fledgling manufacturing industry in the Camden Park will suffer tremendously. And there are some of these industries that are so delicate that if you disrupt them for about 1 to 3 months, they may lose their market share altogether. We don't understand these things. Put the project where it belongs. Revisit it. Build the alternative route and then reconstruct the highway. And in the meantime, patch the roads. Fill the holes, man. Fill the holes. That is the way to go. But you're not listening. Fill the holes, man. That is what the NDP, because he is the spokesman. He is the spokesman. He says he's the shadow minister for works. He is the shadow minister for works. Mr. Speaker, there are 3 points I want to make about this. The project is financed by CDB. There are professionals involved in the entire preparatory work from the conception of this project. There is a CDB-approved consultant, DLN, same one that worked on the part of the Windward Highway, and DLN has a project manager. He's living here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines for the duration of the project.
Well, stand and say that. You can just stand up. I mean, he's presenting.
Mr. Speaker, when I'm finished, I'll give it to you.
He doesn't have to give way.
I will give way to you when I'm finished.
Excuse me, Mr. Speaker, on a
If
point
you
of
ask
clarification.
right, but I'm saying, so you can't just stand. You have to say what you want.
Yeah, but the minister didn't give way, so I did not
But that's
say.
my point.
All right, you have it now. Go
So
ahead.
once he did not give way, it is for you to point to the rules and say clarification,
But
point
I
of
did
order.
that several times. I was calling on you for you to get the speaker's
Proceed, sir.
attention. Yeah.
Proceed, honorable member.
Mr. Speaker, the honorable senator read from his interpretation of my statement on radio with the intention of proving me wrong. But at the end of the reading, I am still waiting for him to explain what in that he quoted that proved me wrong. But he moved on. I fail to understand what in what I said there. What is the point?
Very well, sir.
You want clarification? Put the project on hold. Reassess it. Build the road from Camden Park to Kingston. Include widening Otley Hall, widening Edinburgh. That's another $10 million job. Mr. Speaker, what pushed them this way? And I'm glad he asked me for the explanation. in a ring the bell thing down Camden Park. The honourable member, as well as the honourable member for South Leeward, stated categorically that the Unity Labour Party will not be building the South Leeward Highway. That's where this came from. They had that rally down there where they were ringing out the bell and then the bell tongue drop out. Both of them, the honourable member for South Leeward and the honourable member for North Leeward, all three of them, like a trio. The money is there, but they can't do it because they ain't got no money to put in, and the project will not start. It will take an NDP government to do the South Leeward Highway. Those were the statements made. I'm glad you asked me. So now the project starts. I was awarded and we started. Mr. Speaker, North Leeward Highway was built in that way. There is no diversion from Layu down to Chateaubelair.
Down there with traffic.
Yeah.
Come on.
Central Leeward Highway was built. The only diversion is a little piece in the back of Layu.
You comparing traffic then with now?
The whole Windward Highway was built,
Come on.
and the people of the Windward suffered a lot in that. So you learn from your experiences on those, especially the Windward Highway, because the majority of the traffic in St. Vincent is on the Windward Highway. Whether you go over Villa, Fountain Road, you go over into Gome and Belair, you have to come back to KFC and the roundabout. Can't go nowhere else. You can go over Doster Hill, but only the desperate will go over there. On mornings trying to get to work. So they have learned that narrow piece of road, there was no diversion whatsoever. But we survived it. He said, I suggested to him at one time in this parliament, if push come to shove, you can use Kingstown Port to offload containers rather than Camden Park Port for that period. Because once you pass Camden Park, the trailer trucks are limited. Smaller in number for the rest of the highway. He rubbished that. And say, I am trying to tell him that, but that is not practical. You have a port in Kingston, you have one in Camden Park. Before Camden Park, all the containers used to come in Kingston. The part that we were looking at is the Christmas season, when traffic is heaviest. But you see, Mr. Speaker, we're going to spend about $12 million on that road this year.
Honourable Member, you have 9 minutes.
12, Mr. Speaker, I'm not going to get much into my ministry, but it's important I did what I did. Mr. Speaker, we are going to be spending $12 million on the South Leeward Highway. And that is also what is driving them. Because over 100 persons are employed on that project. Directly by the contractor and then their subcontractors. Mr. Speaker, we, this Unity Labour Party administration, will fix the road from Kingston to Layu. And we will patch it from there on. But fill the holes, man. Fill the holes. Never happened. Not on the South Leeward Highway. You ain't getting that one. The road will be fixed and traffic will flow. Because we know how to do it and we have the experience to do it. Mr. Speaker, there are two projects I want to mention. One, I did tell Senator Luke Brown when he was running out of time. Now I'm running out of time. We are going to be spending a lot of money, and the Ministry of Works is involved at the chief engineer's level, on plain fields. Mr. Speaker, the National Lottery has, through the National Insurance, negotiated a loan of $6.5 million to do repairs and upgrading to plain fields. Those that are in for the first tranche, Cumberland Hope, Glove Factory, we have to do the Glove Factory, because that is being utilized as security for the facility from the NIS. And by the way, Mr. Leader of the Opposition, the interest rate is 6.5%. Calico, Field and Hardcourt, Chile, and to do Chile, we have to give temporary playing field at Rabaca and Bronxtown. So both those fields, we are fixing up something at Rabaca, and then Bronxtown will be cleaned up to facilitate the youngsters while Chile is being done. Chile being done from regrassing because it has really been termite ridden. Richland Park in preparation for Canaan, and Golden in North Leeward. Golden in North Leeward, I know. Hold your head and ball. Others are Leyu Hard Court, Camden Park Pavilion, Curtains Hard Court, Bookerman Pavilion, about 6 hard courts in South Central Windward that are all badly cracked up. Mainly Sanssouci Diamonds, all these are the school, the school hard courts, and Peter's Hope and Greg's, Calicotu. So those are work to be done. Mr. Speaker, this program will start immediately. And the funds, from my information, tells me, I am speaking on this because it is connected to the Ministry of Works. Prime Minister mentioned it briefly. Honourable Member and the Minister didn't touch on it, and I thought it important in a budget debate that we have. You touched on it. Okay. Mr. Speaker, there's another program. You would see $1 million in the estimates from account number 550, no, that's Little Tokyo, 551, and it says OPEC, Kuwait, Saudi. We are starting a serious road rehabilitation program. You think Obama won big? You will understand ours. Proportionately, ours is larger than Obama won. Mr. Speaker, the program has started. That we are going to start. It has started. And now that the airport is coming down to the end, that you don't understand or accept, like you don't accept the Petrocaribe agreement, equipment is available to us to fix roads. We've been telling you that for 3 years. Nobody was believing. Right now, we have up in the mountains, North Leeward. We started in North Leeward with the following roads: Degro, going up Trinity Falls, Antwine, Palmyra, and Anderson in the Rose Hall Mountain. Yes, the member for North Leeward is not in his head. And the other ravaged area of South Central, North Central, and North Windward. We started in the center at North Central: Gracefield, Maho, Locust, Masandi, McLean. And we have Cassava Peace, Ferguson, a lot of others. Then we go into North Windward. So we have a bulldozer, 2 backhoe, a bobcat, a roller, and about 11 trucks deployed right now in the mountains in Rose Hall and Trinity Falls. I'm sure you see them every day. And a similar number in North Central Windward. The idea being, we spread from those ravaged areas. South Leeward, I heard the Honourable Member for South Leeward, and Palmis, Maloney, all those roads, we intend to move in there. By then we will have more equipment, because as the months go by and the earthworks is completed or being completed, we have more and more equipment available to us. We've been telling you all that for the longest while. Not only that, we have the equipment and the earth moving equipment. We have a hot mix plant and a concrete batching plant. What more do you want to fix roads? So when I say that this is proportionately larger than Obama program, believe me, it is going to be larger. And the farmers are going to be happy. In addition to that, we have bought 6 new pieces. We have ordered 6 new pieces of equipment for Bragsa. Bragsa is playing a very important role in this program. 2 4x4 buggies, 6-ton 4x4 buggies, 2 asphalt zippers. An asphalt zipper, you would see Dipcon has a little one on the front of his bobcat. Something bigger than that. This is a 4-foot asphalt zipper that you drive. It's not self-propelled. It goes on the bucket of a loader, and you drive it along at about 2 miles an hour, and it churns the asphalt into the base material and spreads it back out naturally behind it. You roll it, and you go to Argyle, IADC, and you get your hot mix, spread it on, roll it, good to go. Then we are buying 2 bobcat backhoes, 2 beautiful little machines, versatile machines, one tracked and one-wheeled. And trailers are coming with them to transport them to any part of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. All you have to do is hook them up behind a truck and you're gone about your business. One of the backhoes, the Bobcat backhoe should be here within 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and the others are on their way. So, Mr. Speaker, the programs that you are seeing, I said $12 million, Prime Minister, for South Leeward, but it's $14 million for South Leeward Highway. This year, and next year will come, but I'm ready to talk about next year. We'll deal with next year. Mr. Speaker, there are many other programs and projects that I dealt with during the estimates that I believe that I did justice to them there. I did want to refer back to some of them, but as I know my time is up, but well spent on some other matters. Mr. Speaker,
You actually have a minute, you know.
this ministry has been,
You actually have a minute.
a minute. This ministry, the capital program of this ministry, as I say, is about $87.7 million. $1.7 million out of local revenue, $34 million out of local loans, $23 million out of grants, and $28 million out of external loans. Mr. Speaker, we are negotiating a $30 million US facility with the OPEC Kuwait Saudi Fund, and that is progressing nicely. The $1 million in the estimates is just a token. So as the funds are approved, we can easily access them. One final project, Mr. Speaker. We lost $2 million after the 2013 floods for repairs of Little Tokyo. We intend, I have in fact instructed them to get all the preparatory paperwork to the Ministry of Finance for the release of the money, because this is being funded by Petrocaribe, and get the authorization for payment, and we will finally be repairing Little Tokyo. What we intend to do, fix up the meat market, transfer 3 or 4 shops at a time, fix those, transfer those back, and before the end is finished, the year is finished, we should have. Mr. Speaker, I just want to spend 2 minutes on rock butter, because I think everybody had their fair share in that. Mr. Speaker, I want to extend, I've done personally, privately. I've spent a lot of time in that part of the country since this accident took place, as I did in North Leeward in 2013 disaster. I practically lived in North Leeward during that disaster. And, well, if you want me to tell you, you will not be allowed at that house. If you want me to tell you, you'll not be allowed at that house anymore. Not anymore.
Let me leave that for now. Let me leave that for now. It's fancy time. We'll leave that.
Yes.
We'll leave that.
But they're glad to hear it. Yeah, Mr. Speaker. But it was remarkable the way the people held up. And I really want to congratulate Minister Daniel, the Honorable Minister of Housing. I have seen him in action before on repairing and doing housing following the 2013 disaster. But I doubt very much that over the 12 days, from the 13 days, that Minister Daniel in any one particular day got more than 2 hours sleep. I mean, he was real there with the people. And to have commissioned a cemetery, build a road to that cemetery in 5 days, I have to congratulate him on the foresight. Naturally, we had to use Bragsa and the people at Bragsa to get the work done. And special thanks to Mr. Leon Cato. Excellent response, fast worker. And Mr. Speaker, there's one other contribution I want to highlight. Dr. Claudius Davis, a PhD in psychology, psychologist, volunteered his time, paid his ticket, came to St. Vincent for the weekend immediately following, lived at his mother in Vermont, and spent considerable time with 2 other psychologists from, I believe, UNESCO. And he really got into the people In fact, I am told, Mr. Speaker, that he in fact transported some of the students from the hospital straight out to Fancy, because he wanted to get a feel of their life and how they're responding and so on. I want to thank him very much for his contribution. And you know, not adding politics to it, was a gentleman who has a fantastic practice in New York. He spent a lot of time at the hospital, hours and hours and hours. And Mr. Speaker, he said to me, last time I came here, Minister, was in 2006. This is now I'm going into 2015. He said, the reports I've been getting on St. Vincent and the Grenadines is that everything is falling apart. He said, I went to that hospital. He says, of course, Minister, it is an old building. So I understand the structure. He says, but there are places in the United States of America, medical institutions, when he goes there, he will not eat. He said he was so impressed with the cleanliness internal in the hospital. He goes into the kitchen, into the dining room, and so on and whatnot, and the way they prepare their meals and everything else. And the professionalism that is exhibited down there by the professionals. He said he was quite impressed, and he will not any longer be succumbed to any negative talk on this matter of development in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. But I think it was a very sad time for the people of Fancy, and it's going to take them a long time, if ever. I don't think some of them will ever recover. You lose them, that type of loved ones. And we will be there giving the continued support. In fact, I'm going out there on Thursday, as soon as this Parliament is finished and Cabinet is finished, to make sure that the road down to Cottage is completed, and give Minister Daniel full support. Take it right through the cemetery and down to Cottage. Mr. Speaker, I want to thank the honourable member for riding from North Leeward to Fancy in a speedboat for the funeral, but to tell him that next time, please do not play seaman, because he's from North Leeward, not necessarily a seaman, but he went out and got himself damaged because the pounding of the boat, he's not accustomed to it. So I suggested to him when he came here that he should borrow the honourable member for West Kingston chair to give him some relief on his back. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and may this appropriation bill have an easy passage through this honourable House. Thank you.